Let me please introduce myself very briefly. My name is Stefan Ried of RP-Technik Stahlsysteme, seated in Böhnen in North Rhine-Westphalia. We are producing profiles and systems for steel profiles, particularly for the energetic area, so for buildings under monument reservation, but also for fire protection elements, facades, and so forth. As you can hear, I'm not from Böhnen, I'm rather from Allgäu, and I hope that you can all understand me well. I'm really trying to speak as clearly as possible without dialect. Actually, I am, by coincidence, taking over this presentation because this was the presentation of my colleague Andreas Zick. Unfortunately, he fell ill, and you should be glad because he comes from Palatinate with a very strong and very dialect. In our presentation, it is particularly about monument preservation. So it's four worlds that meet each other. On the one hand, the building or monument preservation, the Green Deal, then the Building Energy Act 2020, and of course, the costs and expenses that have to be incurred in this respect. When it comes to monument protection, it is about finding compromise because in many cases it fails because of the constructions that could be used. I mean, I'm mainly talking about facades, windows, and doors. And it doesn't matter whether it is wood or steel or any other elements. It is always about finding the right compromise, particularly when it comes to energy efficiency, also the performance values that need to be achieved. This is exactly what monument preservation is asking. The next pillar is the Green Deal of the European Union. The Green Deal of the European Union requires that in the future, I should make sure that the greenhouse gas emissions are reduced, and by that, I can improve the life quality, which is somewhat contradictory to the monument preservation. It is about ensuring a safe and affordable energy supply in the European Union and the development of a fully integrated, connected, and digitized EU energy market. The third point of the Green Deal is energy efficiency. So, what is striven for is an improvement of the overall energy efficiency of our buildings and the development of an energy sector that should predominantly rely on renewable energy sources, particularly with respect to windows, doors, and facades. These energy efficiency aspects are particularly important in addition to the ecological design of products. Then, what is also important is the EU energy standards on local and global levels. Then, of course, there are some provisions, complaints, and so forth. I would not like to enlarge on that because it is a lot of bureaucracy that is summarized here. The GEG 2020 is the next pillar in these four worlds because this Building Energy Act says that in buildings under monument preservation, I need to achieve minimum values. For instance, an U value of 1.4 for windows, for doors 1.8, and for all buildings, for the window elements, it should be a U value of 1.6. When you put it into operation, it should be a U value of 1.6, and when we have new buildings, it should be 0.95. With our steel windows of the brand RP Fine Line, we achieve a U value with a good glass of 0.79. So I think that this is quite a number. Of course, the cost pressure is getting larger and larger for both the users and the owners. Because the user of a property that is under monument preservation in most cases means that there is no energy efficient building envelope. This is what costs a lot of money and where you have to really invest a lot. And we as window producers cannot do a lot about it. For those protected buildings, it will certainly apply that in the future they cannot be rented out that easily because the owners will not only have to pay for the exchange and replacement of the windows and doors, but they will also have to pay a share of the energy costs. For the Monument Preservation Authority, there is only one thing that they are interested in, namely to maintain the construction substance. Well, let's just have a short excursion to the time when those metal windows came into existence. Everything started with cast iron windows, which was the case in the early Middle Ages. Oh, just a second. Let me just have a sip of water. Within the framework of industrialization, those cast iron windows were then made available to many people. The combination of cast iron and glass enabled, well, unprecedented architectural constructions, particularly in office buildings, factories, and public buildings, central stations, and so forth. So it was the rooms that nobody lived in. Around 1870, they started with the first rolling technology, rolling out steel for our windows, for instance, where the first roll profiles, T profiles, or L profiles were used, where it was already possible to also insert glass panels. It was also possible to add some window sashes. And this was again a big progress within the industrialization phase. Then let's have a look at the steel profile, steel systems, where RP is actually a market leader, particularly for monument preservation. For instance, if we look at some refurbishments of buildings by Peter Behrens, Walter Gropius, Mies van der Rohe, Lloyd Wright, and so forth, these buildings are protected and they need to be refurbished now. Some industrial monuments, such as the energy factory in Knappenrode, was something that we have refurbished. And I brought a couple of pictures with me to show you what can come out of those buildings that actually enjoy a high reputation among the society. And these are nice examples for buildings that are refurbished in the best possible way. Orangeries and so forth will be brought back to old fame, and lofts are also provided with an area design due to the delicate doors that we provide. New buildings have slim and slender profiles. They are bathed in light. So this is something that we are excellent at. Our series RP Fineline 70W is a steel profile with a good U value of 0.79 with a good glass. And we can actually reach all of the values that a good window has to reach, particularly with a particularly slim and slender profile. You see that with the fixed glazing, the frame width is 25 millimeters. Then here, together with the window sash, it is 55 millimeters. This is something that could not be achieved with a wooden system or a plastic system. Then, of course, for tilt systems, I need different dimensions, but this is also possible. This is an object or project that we have carried out and implemented last year. That's a health building in Dortmund. Again, here the requirement was that the half round shell, you can see it here, should be integrated again. And based thereon, we have developed a system with new windows, with new window sashes, and we've also tested it so it is mature for serial production. And in this health building, there were more than 200 different reversible sashes. Regarding the fittings, everything goes, starting from the modern ones up to the nostalgic ones, as you can see in this picture. The same applies for the steel door series 70D. We have shown here another nice turn tilt door with a width of only 75 millimeters. The thicknesses of the glasses are ranging from 20 to approximately 48 millimeters. So again, it is possible to have triple glazing. Then we have a plethora of different colors that is possible. As you can see, the window hinges here. The door series, again, very slim and slender with 60 millimeters in the middle. Of course, it is not possible to provide that with multi-point locking systems. Here you can see zero threshold, also feasible with our system. So here, all of the possibilities. Okay, then let's have a look at the references. We also are able to provide combinations with our other system, the so-called Hermetic 70 series for our doors, where, of course, you can also implement fire protection elements, and this can be wonderfully combined with fine line. This is a reference from Allgäu, the digital center in Kempten. This used to be a fabric factory. Now it accommodates a nice center for startups, also with apartments. This is Peter Behrens' villa in Taunus. That is something that will be refurbished. Here you can see the energy factory Knappenrode, an industrial monument. All of those small segments with the windows, 4 meters times 4 meters. On the inside, we have a museum with the wonderful fine line systems. Well, as I said, the element size is approximately 4 times 4 meters. Then we have the orangery here. These doors are 5.80 meters, and I have to say that these are, of course, no standard systems. All of that has been tested and proven. Then the Duchess Garden in Dresden. So you can see that a lot can be done with steel, and it also can be deformed and molded in any way whatsoever. The old liquor factory, that's another great building, and the liquor is just as nice. I can just recommend it. Then here, the next thing is a brewery. This is an object that is still pending, the so-called Münchner Kindl brewery in Munich, where most probably we will deliver the individual elements. Then very briefly, I would like to catch your attention. Here we have a wonderful exhibition in Munich, a designer show with all of our systems here, for instance, also fine line. Thank you so much for your attention.